Imagine if you asked Christian Horner to drive Max Verstappen's car. Now that sounds like a huge bill for the Red Bull financial department. Yet, someone like Horner intrinsically understands how a Formula One car works, so he's able to manage an entire team of drivers, strategists, and engineers. Today, running a team is not our focus. Instead, we are going to get you to a level of understanding for what it takes to pilot a Formula One car. From this knowledge, you can enhance your viewing experience and get an idea of how the drivers are able to make some close-shave maneuvers with ease. It's by no means an easy task, but if there are a few things you should understand to get you started. Fitting into the seat. Okay, so you won a magical lottery that allows you to pilot a premium-grade F1 car. Let's take Max Verstappen's RB18 for example. It sounds like the best reward in the world, but now that you're actually on the track, the pit crew wants to get you into the car. Suddenly, you take a peek into the seat and realize just how small it is. An image flashes into your head, and you start to understand why most Formula One drivers are pretty short and weigh less. It's a science by itself. The smaller a driver is, the more the team has leeway to fit in different components without sacrificing speed. In Formula One, every single kilo matters. A team that is currently enjoying the best of a driver's size has to be AlphaTauri. The Italian Red Bull sister team is currently contracted with Yuki Tsunoda and Nick de Vries. These are two of the grid's smallest drivers, so there's no doubt that engineers will appreciate shedding some weight in exchange for speed. For you though, fitting into the seat is going to be the ultimate test of your claustrophobia. It is so impossible for most people to fit that drivers tend to have customized seats. In this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, you'll be lucky to get a custom fitting. Your leg space is still going to be extremely narrow and super uncomfortable. The seating position in F1 is more akin to lying down. Your legs will be elevated to encourage aerodynamics in the vehicle's chassis. Honestly, sitting in an F1 car is closer to being tied down in a trunk than driving a car. This is further magnified with the 6 seat belts that are strapping you down in the car. There's also a fastening tool called a Hans that is strapped to your head to keep your head in place. However, you'll barely be able to move your head thanks to it. Your engineers will help you out with the fitting when you're going out to the track. Starting the car. Getting an F1 car to start is mainly a job for the mechanics. At least this is one problem that will be off your back. However, it's not completely independent of you. There's still the manual clutch that you have to initialize. The clutch is usually customized for drivers, so at the start of a race, they hold on the clutch and release it at the right time to gain an acceleration advantage. If you make a mistake in this process, there's still an automatic system to help you out, but it's much slower for you this way. This was a mistake that Max Verstappen made once before. Using the car components. The pedal and other parts can also be customized to be in sync with your driving preferences. However, using the pedals to manage your speed won't help much because it only ever responds at a fast rate. In other words, like 100% of its capacity. Same with the brakes. Braking an F1 car can feel like the quickest thing you've ever encountered. It doesn't become any easier once you realize that Formula One cars have to deal with warm and cold brakes from time to time. When the brake is cold, it might not respond after pushing it down. Meanwhile, a warmer brake can feel like slamming into a wall after a gentle touch. The good news is that in a single-seater series like Formula One, you'll only ever need to remember that braking is on the left of your car and acceleration with the pedal is on the right. Therefore, you're not going to be making many mistakes as long as those two simple details stay at the forefront of your mind. Meanwhile, the steering process with an F1 car is a completely different physical requirement compared to anything you've ever experienced. Shifting gears works just like any modern car, so this won't feel too new to you. However, the way acceleration changes with gear shifts can feel quite brutal, so getting used to that feeling is a completely different experience. For the steering wheel, you're probably intimidated just thinking about it. The popularly shared F1 interview from Walter Koster summarizes the modern F1 steering wheel in a question that asks drivers to ponder whether or not piloting an F1 car is like a rocket science. In reality, the steering wheel isn't as difficult as it seems. Most of the buttons are only used when the team engineers communicate that you should initialize them. However, it is still recommended that drivers should learn what all the buttons do. It's important for them to at least have an intrinsic knowledge of every part of the steering wheel. Limited vision on track. Once you're ready to wheel out for a flying lap, the great outdoors could whittle down the claustrophobia a bit. However, you're also going to contend with the literal black bar in your face. Of course, we're talking about the halo. First of all, an F1 car is already at a pretty low height for aerodynamic reasons. You're not going to be seeing much. At this point, you'll likely appreciate the claustrophobic position because you know that you're not going to be flung out at 200 miles per hour. Still, having no visuals on the fast twists and turns of a track is not an amazing feeling. If you ever played an F1 video game, you'll know that street circuits like Monaco tend to feel almost impossible. Imagine driving on that type of track in real life as a novice. No vision, giant halo, closed walls, visual overstimulation. It's a lot to process. However, on a free track like Circuit Paul Ricard, you can count your lucky stars for the blue and red lines that slow you down if you lose the racing line. G-force. Now this is the main thing that can stop you from living your Formula One fantasies. Everything else can be managed somewhat as a novice. However, handling the amount of G-force that comes with driving an F1 car is something that requires physical training and endurance like no other. Your neck will hurt if you haven't strengthened it enough. If you've ever looked closely, you'll notice that most Formula One drivers tend to have bigger necks than most people. Strengthening the neck muscles helps them maintain balance with the helmet and endure the pressure of G-force. For the 2022 season, the pressure of handling high levels of G-force was more prominent, especially with porpoising during the season's first half. Porpoising was basically a jerking motion that made the car somewhat resistant to high-speed parts of a track. Drivers were violently bounced around while still needing to be aware of their surroundings. Even if you've managed to follow all the steps detailed above, breaking through the first corner will be your first taste of reality in an F1 car. Those G's will be pretty much the same as taking a nap in the middle of a high-speed chase. If you want to get a taste for this sensation, you can try go-karting at a competitive level. Even seasoned F1 drivers like Fernando Alonso still enjoy karting. All Formula One drivers started with karting before moving into single-seaters, so it's a great benchmark for a novice that wants to simulate F1. Driving a Formula One car is by no means easy. Hesitation is one of the easiest ways to ruin a race. For the experience that is usually 2 hours long, there's a lot of focus that is required. That's if you want to finish a race. To win a race, you'll need to tap into something inside that can't be explained in a video alone. On that note, you can get a glimpse into what it takes to be the best in Formula One by checking out the video on the things you didn't know about Lewis Hamilton.